Please bear with me. Okay. Are you able to see my screen? Yeah? Okay. Just need to adjust because I'm also sharing the screen here in the temple room. Bear with me one moment while I deal with the technical aspects here. Okay, so I think I'm starting with text 43. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class, and it is a great honor and privilege to be here with all of you. I thank you very much for attending, and to all the devotees who are here in the temple room. Let's see if I can give you a quick darshan. There's a few devotees here at the moment. Tulsi Maharani is here, of course. So, most important. Okay, so we have a few verses to read through today. Before we begin, I would like to first seek the blessings of all of the assembled devotees that you see fit to please bestow your mercy upon me, so that I can speak something both relevant and bona fide from this most exalted scripture, the Srimad Bhagavatam, the crown jewel of the Puranas and our life and soul. Only by the mercy of Vaishnavas is anything possible, so therefore I am seeking your blessings. Hare Krishna. So we'll chant the invocation, and I'll also chant the Mangalacharanam, as I'll be making some comments as we go along, and then showing a short slide presentation at the end. Om Gana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Gena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Gena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patiranam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivazadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Adi Purush Prabhu Ki Jai Vanchakop Tuvisha Klipasunda Bhyevacha Patinam Pamani Bhavishme Namo Namaha. So I don't know if you all can see this okay on the screen. Yes, all right. All righty. So today we're starting with text 43 and going up to text 58. So quite a few verses. And let's see, and we'll be concluding the chapter today. So like that. So we can all repeat together the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 43, because there are so many verses, please forgive me. I won't be reciting the Sanskrit, but I'll just read the English and can follow along. Text 43. These 7 wild bulls are impossible to tame, O hero. They have defeated many princes, breaking their limbs. Text 44. If you can subdue them, O descendant of Yadu, you will certainly be the appropriate bridegroom for my daughter, O Lord of Shri. Text 45. Text 45. Upon hearing these terms, the Lord tightened his clothing, expanding himself into 7 forms and easily subdued the bulls. It's so nice. I just want to remind us as we're reading the Bhagavatam to really allow ourselves to go into the pastime and try to be present. And, imagine yourself being there watching this pastime unfold. Imagine Krishna hearing from the king, God, I've forgotten his name. The king is Nagnajit. King Nagnajit is like saying, if you want the hand of my daughter, you're going to have to tame these 7 bulls. Now imagine 7 ferocious bulls. We don't want to imagine them in here, but imagine you're there with them and you're watching Krishna, and King Nagnajit is saying, if you want my daughter's hand, you have to tame these 7 bulls that have already defeated so many princes. And what does Krishna do? He doesn't go, oh my God, he gets all worried. He just tightens his cloth and he's like, let's go, let's do it. So Krishna is like fired up to make this happen. So upon hearing this, he tightens his clothing, expanding himself. Then he expands himself into 7 different forms, 7 unique individuals. He actually expands himself. So we know yogis, I think yogis in general can expand themselves maximum. What is it? 8? 7 or 8, something like that. Yogis can expand themselves. So Krishna actually expanded himself into 7 unique, but actually those expansions of a yogi, they all have to do the exact same thing. So they're like, not exactly mirror images, but like that. They're identical images that move the same way. But Krishna was able to expand himself into 7 unique individual personalities to deal with each bull. So what does the purport say here? According to Srila Sridhar Swami, Lord Krishna expanded himself into 7 forms, not only to playfully defeat the 7 bulls, playfully defeat the 7 bulls. This is like play for Krishna. This isn't like some massive task, like, oh no, I've got to fight a bull. He's like expanded himself into 7 and he's just playing. For him, this is just play. But also to show Princess Satya that she would not have to compete with his other queens, since he could enjoy with all of them simultaneously. So everyone understands this point? So Krishna, they say that God accomplishes many things with one action. It's not just that he's doing one thing. By one action, he's actually accomplishing many things at one time. So by expanding into 7, not only is he going to fight these bulls, but he's showing Satya that I'm more than just your average man. I have some other queens, but don't worry, my dear. I'll be able to take care of you because I can expand myself infinitely, in fact. Okay, so anyway, we'll carry on. Text 46. Lord Shari tied up the bulls, whose pride and strength were now broken, and pulled them with ropes, just like a child playfully pulls wooden toy bulls. Text 47. Then King Nagnajit, pleased and astonished, presented his daughter to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, accepted the suitable bride in the proper Vedic fashion. Godhead. The Supreme Personality of Godhead accepted the suitable bride in the proper Vedic fashion. Purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Prabhupada's disciples ki. The word sadrisham indicates that the lovely princess was a fitting bride for the Lord, because she possessed wonderful transcendental qualities that complemented his. As Srila Jiva Goswami points out, the word Vishmitaha indicates that King Nagnajit was certainly astonished at the many extraordinary events suddenly taking place in his life. Anyway, we'll come back and discuss this a little more. The king's wives felt the greatest ecstasy. So this is text 48. Upon attaining Lord Krishna as the dear husband of the royal princess, and a mood of great festivity arose. So basically, King Nagnajit's wives, he also had several wives. They were all ecstatic to see that this is going to become our son-in-law. So they were very happy. Text 49, conch shells, blow the conch shell, horns and drums resounded along with vocal and instrumental music and the sounds of brahmanas invoking blessings. The joyful men and women adorned themselves with fine clothing and garlands. So this is the scene. Now the scene is changed, and actually now we're at the wedding. So there's like conches blowing, bugles and drums, and then there's brahmanas chanting all mantras, Hari Om. Everyone's chanting, and everyone's dressed very nicely, looking very sharp and refined, and dressed for the occasion. Text 50 and 51. As the dowry, powerful King Nagnajit gave 10,000 cows, 3,000 young maidservants wearing golden ornaments on their necks and bedecked in fine clothing, 9,000 elephants, 100 times as many chariots as elephants, 100 times as many horses as chariots, and 100 times as many manservants as horses. We'll come back to that. 52. The king of Koshala, his heart melting with affection, had the bride and groom seated on their chariot, and then he sent them on their way, surrounded by a great army. So this is all very, very powerful and important. We're going to discuss it a little more in a minute. Text 53. When the intolerant kings who had been rival suitors heard what had happened, they tried to stop Lord Krishna on the road as he took his bride home. But just as the bulls had broken the king's strength before, the Yadu warriors broke it now. So it's this verse, when I first read it, I was like, what? I didn't quite catch that. But basically what's happened is the kings, or the princes, the kings who had tried to take Satya before, they were now upset with Krishna. So they were like, now we're going to smash this guy, we're going to defeat him. And they tried to do that, but on the road, and then it says, as he took his bride home, but just as the bulls had broken the king's strength before, the Yadu warriors would break it now. So all of these kings who were trying to stop Krishna, they were all defeated by the bulls previously. So the point being made here by Shukadeva Goswami is that basically those kings who were broken by the bulls were now going to get broken by the Yadu army. So like that. Text 54. Arjuna, wielder of the Gandiva bow, was always eager to please his friend Krishna, And thus he drove back those opponents who were shooting torrents of arrows at the Lord. He did this just as a lion drives away insignificant animals. Text 55. Lord Devaki Sutta, the chief of the Yadus, then took his dowry and Satya to Dwarka and continued to live there happily. So this is the epitome of the happily ever after ending in our fairy tales. Text 56. Bhadra was a princess of the Kaikeyi kingdom and the daughter of Lord Krishna's paternal aunt, Shrutakirti. The Lord married Bhadra when her brothers, headed by Santardan, offered her to him. So this is another wife of Krishna. So we've got Satya and Bhadra, and then another is just now coming. Then the Lord married Lakshmana, the daughter of King Madra. Krishna appeared alone at her Swayamvar ceremony and took her away, just as Garuda once stole the demigod's nectar. Text 58 and the concluding verse. Lord Krishna also acquired thousands of other wives equal to these when he killed Bhaumasura and freed the beautiful maidens the demon was holding captive. Jai. Thus end the purports of the humble servants of his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to the 10th canto, 58th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Krishna Marries 5 Princesses. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so now I would like to share my screen again. Presentation here. Hopefully you all can see this. Let me see if this works. So those of you viewing, are you able to see my screen with the slide on it? Yeah, okay, no one was answering. So Jeffrey, I think that's Jeffrey, I saw a thumbs up, okay. I've got you on my screen, I can almost only see you, so you can be my point man, all right, so whenever so everyone can see this. So this is topic for discussion, and we'll leave some time at the end. So we'll kind of go through the verses again, but we're going to discuss the different, Ashtabharya. This is Krishna's 8 principal queens or consorts. So anyone remembers how many were spoken about today so far? Huh? Yes, 3. 3 of them were spoken about. Do we remember their names? That's tough. They're fancy names. Lakshmana. Yeah. Satya. And one more. Say again. No, we didn't get into that one. This is Bhadra. Bhadra was the 3rd one that we spoke about. Bhadra, whose mother was Shrutakirti, Krishna's aunt. So like that. So we've spoken about 3 today, but we'll look at these verses again. So Krishna, he is so wonderful and so amazing. We've just heard Krishna's pastimes. We're hearing Krishna's pastimes. I have a friend who started reading the Bhagavatam. Actually, I met him about 3 or 4 years ago, and he was a neighbor that lives down the street from my parents. And I grew up there, but I never really knew him. But then years later, he's in his, what is he now? He must have been his late 60s. No, mid 70s, mid to late 70s when I met him. And I came back to visit my parents, and he saw me and my wife walking in devotional clothing up and down this street that's just like a small, not even a village. It's like just the middle of nowhere in the country. And he was sitting on his porch playing guitar, and he was like, "Hey, who are you guys?" And he called us over, and we started talking, and he just became so inspired that we started talking about the Bhagavatam, and he wound up ordering all these different Bhagavatams off of the internet and started reading them. But he's now completed the entire Bhagavatam. He's 82 years old, and he started it now reading again for the second time. So this is like amazing. But when I speak to him about what he's reading, he's like, I don't really like these pastimes. I like the Gyan. You know, he really likes the 11th canto. He likes the discussion where Uddhav is speaking with Krishna, the Uddhav Gita. He's really into the philosophy, and he's reading at the moment the 3rd canto, and he just loves that. And I've been trying to explain to him, no, you have to get into the pastimes, to the Leela. But different people are attracted to different things. And that's just the way that the world works. Not everyone is the same, and not everyone is attracted. But as we develop our love for Krishna, we just love to hear Krishna's wonderful activities and Krishna's wonderful pastimes, because Krishna is just so wonderful. It's amazing when we hear about Krishna and we see Krishna, and we think about Krishna, and what is the difference? Why is it we're hearing now about how Krishna is fighting with some bulls and, you know, kidnapping another lady? I mean, if you think about this from a mundane perspective, it's kind of a little bit like, you know, wow, what is this guy doing? You know, why are we talking about him? But there's a difference. There's such a distinct difference between Krishna and his activities and us and our activities. His activities are called transcendental, but there's a Sanskrit term for his activities. We refer to it as Krishna Leela. His activities are Leela, and our activities are, Sanskrit term? Karma. Yes, that's right, because karma actually means action or activities. So not all of you, because you're devotees, your activities are also Leela, but in general, like mine are karma. It means that I'm governed by the modes of material nature, and therefore my actions and activities are going to experience some resultant reaction, right? We know the famous phrase, what goes out, what goes around comes around, or what we put out into the world is going to come back to us. What was Newton's law of physics? For every action, there's an equal and opposing reaction. That's in the material world. That's inside of the laws of material nature. But Krishna is not governed by these laws. He is the creator. He is the lawmaker of these laws. So therefore, he's not governed by this. So therefore, his activities are independent. And therefore, his activities are called Leela. And we call them in English pastimes. Because this is how Krishna passes his time. This is what he gets up to, as he likes. We might want to get up to something and do what we like, but how often do we actually really get to do exactly what we like and get what we want out of it? Usually not really, because there's always some impediment, or there's some karma, or we just don't have the qualification to get it. But Krishna always gets what Krishna wants. It's a famous saying, God gets what God wants. So Krishna gets whatever he wants. So Krishna's pastimes are Leela. They're simply Leela. It's just his fun. And it's whatever he wants to do. And we get to bear witness to this by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, who translated and made sure that we have the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the first pastime is here, Krishna taming these bulls. And I found this beautiful picture, so I just really wanted to share it with everyone. Oh. So it's so nice, because really when we hear Krishna Leela, we have to engage our mind. Krishna explains in the Gita that one whose mind is controlled, it becomes his best friend. But one whose mind is not controlled, it remains his worst enemy. So how do we control the mind? By using it to visualize and picture and remember and think of Krishna. So when we see this, Prabhupada, look at in the temple room, and every morning Ananda Bihari Prabhu says, all glories to the pictures on the walls, because they are, as Prabhupada said, anyone remembers what did Prabhupada call the pictures? Windows into the spiritual world. So you can see these pictures and it's like looking through a window like, wow, that's the spiritual world. That's where I want to go. That's where I want to be with Krishna, watching these leelas. And when we see him lifting Govardhan Hill or running to Mother Yashoda, being with the Astasakis, hanging out with Balaram, we can think, wow, this is great. So when we see pictures like this, we can remember this pastime and it can become not only ingrained in our mind, but it can become ingrained in our heart. In our heart. Because we want to develop love for Krishna. And who wouldn't love someone who can expand themselves 7 times? I mean, people spend millions and billions of dollars to create movies about superheroes, right? All these Marvel comics or whatever it is, DC comics, all these things, all these superheroes. But the real superhero is Krishna. I mean, what superhero can actually expand himself 7 times and fight with ferocious bulls? You know, this is Krishna. He's our superhero. You know, he's like, you know, he should become the most famous superhero like that. So anyway, I thought this is really amazing how Krishna tamed these bulls, and he tamed them. Of course, he didn't, you know, put a ring through their nose, and then it describes that he pulled them just like a child pulls a wooden bull toy, you know, like that. So he tamed these bulls. Then Krishna marries Satya. So I just wanted to discuss very briefly about this principle of marriage in Krishna's. It says he married her in proper Vedic custom. So, you know, the Vivaha Samskar is actually like it's a potent, it's the most amazing of all samskars. It's the most prominent. And for a lady, generally, it's the most prominent, or it's the only samskar that a lady may endure, because her initiation, her marriage, so many other things happen at the time of that wedding and samskar. And we see here Krishna is presenting Satya with the Mangal Sutra. So the Mangal Sutra in Vedic culture, a lady when she's married, she generally, not all customs, but most of them have the Mangal Sutra, which is like the equivalent of the wedding ring. For us, you know, we have the ring. So this Mangal Sutra is made of gold and onyx, and, you know, it's placed around her neck, and that shows that she's belongs to her husband. She is the bride of her husband, and this is a sign to everyone that she's a married lady. And the same, usually they put the kumkum in the hair, or the sindur danam, right? So this aspect of the ceremony. But Krishna, he's a Kshatriya. Now, when the Kshatriyas were there, actually the sindur that they would use would be blood from the persons they had defeated. And they would mark the parting in her hair with this blood to show that she's mine. I am victorious, like that. So this is the chivalry, you know, of the Kshatriyas and their weddings. And most often our weddings are a little bit in this kind of mood. Of course, Krishna is there. So then I was thinking about this principle of the dowry, because sometimes, of course, marriage and Vedic marriage in modern times, and the discussion of being kidnapped and being married or being given away to someone, you know, this whole idea is can be a big discussion. But then this idea of the dowry, that often a dowry is given, and sometimes in the modern day they say the dowry is sort of almost like a bribe to get, you know, someone to take your daughter off your hands. But that is not the Vedic culture. The Vedic culture is that the dowry is there, and actually it's in the care of the husband, but it's for the protection of his daughter, because he loves his daughter so much that he wants to make sure she's taken care of. So here you can see that King Nagnajit gave 10,000 cows. 10,000. When numbers like this come up, we can't even imagine it. You know, at Bhaktivedanta Manor, they have 78 cows, you know, cows and bulls. So when you say 10,000, I mean, who can imagine 10,000 cows? 3,000 young maidservants. So not only did Krishna get Satya as a bride, but with her went 3,000 ladies in waiting. I mean, really, it's amazing. And then they were all wearing golden ornaments, bedecked in fine cloth. Then he gave 9,000 elephants. Prabhupada used to say, just to take care of one elephant is a huge thing. Actually, when they got the manor, Prabhupada said, this will be our white elephant. He said, we'll have to take care of it so much. It's going to take so much money to take care of this place. And he called the devotees when they first went to India. He said, these are my dancing white elephants. And they attracted everyone. So everyone would come. So 9,000 elephants, 100 times as many chariots as elephants. So what is that? That's like 900,000 chariots. If you do the math on this, I'm not a big math person, 100 times as many horses and chariots. Anyway, it's phenomenal, the dowry that he gave simply to ensure that his daughter was cared for and looked after. So this is love. So then Krishna defends Satya as they're leaving. He has to fight with all these other kings who tried to win her hand. And of course, Krishna and Arjuna, great warriors, so they were able to defend off. And again, I just found this beautiful picture that I wanted to share with everyone. Yeah. Did you see the one before? Oh, yeah, you saw yeah. So Krishna, defending off these persons. So then Krishna is showing his chivalry by, defending Satya. And you can just imagine Satya is just like, pitter patter, pitter patter. Oh, Krishna, my hero. Isn't it? The idea is every lady wants a hero to swoon in and save her and take her away. And Krishna is like showed up, expanded himself into 7, tamed these bulls. Then he gets all this dowry. They load up on the chariots. They're leaving. All these kings who tried to win her hand show up. And Krishna's just like, she's just like, whoa, what a husband I got, what a lucky girl I am. So amazing. So, next slide. I can't see it, but yeah, I just wanted to discuss. Anyway, I'll put it up here. So I was going to play a little game, but we got short on time. So this is the eight Astabhara, the 8 principal queens of Krishna. The last ones we can see, I think online you can see my cursor. Oh, there, it even gets bigger. Look at that. Okay, so Bhadra we talked about. So she was given away by her brothers to Krishna. Lakshmana we talked about was abducted from her Swayamvar, and Krishna defeated rival suitors. Mitravinda chose Krishna as her husband. In her Swayamvar, Krishna defeated her brothers in a battle to take her away as they disapproved. That was mentioned earlier. Nagnajiti is Satya, but her name is also Nagnajiti. And she was won by Krishna in her Swayamvar by defeating 7 bulls. Before this, we also heard about Kalindi, who performed austerities to gain Krishna as her husband. In some places, it says that Kalindi is also who? The Jamuna. Yeah, so the river Jamuna. Jambavati, we see here, was married off to Krishna by her father in the Shamantaka Jewel episode, and her father was Jambavan. So when we say that, Jambavan is meant to walk in. Where is he? Oh, he's not here. Okay. Satyabhama was married off to Krishna by her father also, another in the Shamantaka Jewel. And then, of course, Rukmini, who was heroically eloped with her lover Krishna when she was being forced into marriage with Shishupal. So we can try to remember these 8 principal queens, of which we've heard their pastimes. So we have Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati, Kalindi, Nagnajiti or Satya, Mitravinda, Lakshmana, and Bhadra. So these are the 8 principal queens. So with that, we will conclude. And thank you all very much for your kind attention. Let me see how I can get out of this. Move there, stop share. And I think that's it. Hare Krishna, and we're leaving a little time, exactly 10 minutes, in order to please Ananda Bihari Prabhu. He is my Lord and Master, so whatever I can do to serve him will be the perfection of my life. So I'll open up the chat and see if anyone has anything. Bhima has his hand raised. We have someone here. And your name, Prabhuji?
John.
John. It's wonderful to have you here, John. Thank you. I'm Jay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, John. Yes, let me just turn you around here. Let me get rid of this. Do you want to see that on the screen up there? Is that better for everyone? Then you can see who's talking or saying something. Good job.
Yeah, I was just a little confused because this is the first time I've heard Krishna having, other wives. So just a basic question,
Hmm.
is Radha still number one?
Back to that one. Okay. So John's question is, first time he's hearing about Krishna having other wives, and he wants to know, is Radha still number one? Yes, Radha is number one forever and ever. Amen. But there are different ways to understand. Of course, Krishna is and when he's in Vrindavan, he has many consorts or paramours. But when he goes to Dwarka, he has many queens. So it's kind of different moods. It's something that will become more apparent later, but Radharani always remains number one. In actual fact, when Krishna goes to Dwarka, and we'll hear in the next part of the pastime, it was alluded to at the end that Krishna had thousands of other queens that he rescued from a cave where this kind of evil person had kidnapped him. And so in the end, Krishna winds up having around 16,108 wives. I mean, yeah, quite a few. Yeah. So it's hard, as Prabhupada would say, it's hard for a man to maintain even one wife in Kali Yuga, what to speak of 16,108 wives. But Radharani always remains number one. Brilliant. Okay, so I think we have Bhima Prabhu, who has his hand raised. And we can't hear you, Bhima.
Prabhu,
There
can you
you
hear
go.
me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, hold on for a second. I have a horse in hand who just escaped. I had a question. First of all, I would like to say that one time I heard, it's not a Prabhupada statement, but somebody said in passing, a sannyasi said in passing, Krishna doesn't stop at 16,108. That Krishna's pastimes are on. Krishna's pastimes are unlimited, and so thereby, of course, his loving relations are unlimited, whether they be in the conjugal ras or the vipralamba, which would be paramour ras, that it's unlimited, and we are given these numbers. And also, could you please expostulate a little bit on the fact that all these queens are simply one, but there's actually no difference between Radharani and any of the queens who are able to have this type of relationship with Krishna. And the other thing was, I know this is a lot to cover in 10 minutes, but we see that Bhaktivinoda talked about each of the demons. Excuse me, I have to put this in my pocket so I can handle this guy here. Each of the demons, whether they be jackasses in the fruits of Talavan or Bakasura, or bifurcating, etc. They all represent different demoniac propensities. And my question was, of course, these 7 bulls, being bulls, testosterosa, bulls representing sort of lusty behavior. So, is there anything that you have ever read, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur ever expanded on this idea that not only does Krishna actually have these pastimes, but by virtue of his ability to not only have a pastime, but that these pastimes are very instructive to understanding what the Leela that what Krishna, as you said, devotees have a Leela as well when they're dealing with Krishna. That Krishna actually sort of removes those 7 bulls from our consciousness. So I'll end my question there.
Okay, wow. Thank you so much, Bhima Prabhu. First question, you broke up a little bit, but was related to how are that Krishna can have unlimited numbers of queens. Of course, yeah, Krishna is not limited by 16,108, although this is what in general our acharyas and specifically our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada quotes that number again and again. But of course, Krishna is not limited by any number. And the question was asked, and I think someone mentioned the other day, can Krishna create a hill that he can't lift? And Prabhupada said, yes, of course. And then he said, and then he'll lift it. So Krishna can do anything. How are these queens of Dwarka directly related to Srimati Radharani? Because John, right? John asked about, is Radharani number one? So this, you're expanding on that. So Radharani is number one in the sense that she is the original Ladini Shakti. She is the original internal potency and pleasure potency energy of Krishna. So from her expand all the feminine aspects that have anything to do, like you have Sita and Ram. Do you know Ram and Sita? Sita Ram?
Yes.
And you have Durga and Shiva and Lakshmi and Narayan. So all of those feminine forms are simply expansions of Srimati Radharani. So in one sense, you could say all of the queens are also ultimately expansions of Radharani, so they're non-different from Radharani, although they appear differently in the sense that they have different forms, different pastimes, different characters, qualities, but their essence is still that of Srimati Radharani. So I hope that answered the second question. And the third question, which was a little more detailed, and now it's slipping my mind a little bit. The third question was about the bulls. So the 7 bulls, and do they have a specific Leela? I haven't read anything specifically about these 7 bulls. Maybe someone here has. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's discussion on the different demons, all of them were also killed, as far as I recall, except for Kalia. Kalia wasn't killed; he was tamed. But I don't remember anything specific about these 7 bulls being mentioned by any of the acharyas. But for sure, it is some significance. And you mentioned the bulls representing lust, like that. So these kind of things are there. As far as Leela, yeah, you mentioned even devotees have, and devotees do have Leela, but generally my understanding is devotees don't really think of their activities as Leela. We wouldn't consider ourselves in that way. We would think that we're not qualified to be in Leela. We're just, suffering reactions of our previous karmic activities. But the conch is about to blow, and Adi Prushpur, you haven't said anything yet, and I feel like I'm robbing you. Would you like to just add something? And let me just turn this over really quick. So like that.
I just want to thank you for a perfect class. It was, besides the actual content of the class, your own delight in, recording and hearing Krishna's pastimes was very enlivening. So thank you very much. Prabhupada.
Krishna, Krishna. Krishna, Krishna. By the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and my spiritual master, and somehow I've pleased Ananda Bihari Prabhu, and now please Adi Purushpur, then my life is perfect. Hare Krishna. Okay, everyone. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you for being here every morning and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam class. It's such a delight to be part of this community. I'm very grateful, very honored, and yeah, it's just so wonderful. Hare Krishna to all of you. So now I think we're going to have darshan. We're just waiting a minute or two. So we can, oh, there goes the lights. We'll take this out. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just looking to see, there were so many questions and statements in the chat. Abraham's. Speed of our spiritual master, the way
Ritika Shori, Prabhu, it looks like Ananda Bahari Prabhu dropped
Had
this.
left. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to close the class.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess if there's any other question or discussion we would like to continue, we will see you tomorrow morning, the same time.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Have a lovely day, everybody.